bros, we did it. I'm absolutely thrilled. So AM or PM, AM, and a redefinition of the word correction. All right, so ear, I'm gonna jump right into it and just not give you any of the context, the details, and then go back and do that maybe. All right, well, I'm gonna try. So, um, okay, we're gonna rethink. We're gonna drop words like error, blah blah. Everything in from our vocabulary. Oh, though, okay, I do have to say the context was, I was trying to think yesterday of a better way for us to think about learning, of how we can have a better relationship to learning, such that error doesn't feel like a negative thing at all. And such that correction doesn't mean like, oh no, I fell short, and I was imperfect, and whatever, and that, or that being imperfect is at all alarming in any way. Okay. So here's what we've got. Everything that you do in life, um let me get the mic out for this. All right, let's try to do that again. Okay. How can we have a better relationship to learning? How can we not be affected the way we are by words like error? Well, we can just stop using them. And the associated concepts. So we stop using the word error, and here are the replacements for times when you would say things like an error or then a correction maybe. And we're also going to redefine the word correction. Okay. Okay. So, and then I'll explain, and then I'll be able to ramble after this. I'm just going to get this out now. Okay. Everything you do in life is a first go. Everything you do in life is a go at that. It is life asked for something, and then the mechanisms that were here before the question was asked responded. Before that specific instance of the question was asked. So they respond. Okay. Often in life, often enough, the way that the mechanisms that existed before this instance of the question, who then responded to that instance of the question, sometimes they give us an answer that's good enough. So I'm hungry. Okay, I get up, I make some food, and then I'm not hungry anymore. It was good enough. Maybe I should have cooked something, maybe a little healthier. Maybe I should have included more vegetables, whatever. Okay. And that's what we're going to call the PM. Then sometimes you go, hey, wait a minute. That first response I had in this case, I've just thought of a response that better responds to the demand. How do I avoid the word better? We were doing really well because we were framing it really well. I mean, we were imagining it really well. Is that okay? Obviously, there's no obviously you do a thing, okay, or you have a thought, you have an answer, okay, and then sometimes there are other mechanisms that play that respond slightly more to the demand of reality. You can never respond 100%. Okay. I'm hungry. It's not really possible for me to then eat the perfect meal. For me to then prepare, for know even what the perfect meal would be based on my body's needs, based on knowledge about nutrition and all that stuff. I'll never be able to perfectly respond. Um, but I made myself a meal. I'm not hungry anymore, and I'm still alive. So, um, or I don't know. Oh, there are cases where you could respond perfectly. How do you spell kitchen? You can say Kitchen, and that would be a perfect response. Um, so there are some areas in life where there is sort of a maximum of how much better your response can be. So that's cool. That keeps things a little bit simple. But in a lot of areas of life, you're going to do your PM, and then only sometimes will you or someone else realize, oh, you know what? There's a second step I could do, a step that brings me a little bit closer to responding at the impossible 100% to the original question or demand. Okay. I mean, I am sure I messed up the order of this because you guys you didn't want to just bear with me and just let it come out of my mind the way it would want to come out. Not that that would necessarily be the perfect way either, but this was really hard, and I don't think you got anything out of it. But I guess I just keep going, right? So, all right. So we've got the PM, we've got the AM, and then it'll all come together when I explain the context. And then, long story short, a correction is the process by which you adjust, by which the system learns to produce what was considered the AM as its new PM. Boom. There you go. A correction is not, hey, here's an AM. A correction is the actual process. It's not at all. That's great. That's great. Because we corrections can be so stupid when they're impractical. So let's redefine correction. Um, Yeah, correction is when the system is corrected, not just when a corrected statement is shared. The actual system has to receive it and demonstrate it in that process. Let's label that process the correction. Then only part of the correction would be declaring what an AM might be. Okay, okay, so look, all right, you may be lost. Okay, that's fair enough. And I just think it's cool that you're here. Um, So now just let me tell it my way now. Okay. So yesterday, no, I wasn't on the phone. I was just thinking about learning and corrections and being told that, oh, you're doing that wrong. Here is the what's right. Um, those trigger things that are counterproductive to our actually benefiting from statements like those. Those statements like those could be really beneficial. Um, and we often some of our mechanisms do see them as like beneficial things. But then when it comes down to it, when we actually hear someone say, do it this way instead, or blah blah, unless they're real cute about it and maybe a little girl and they go I mean like a short woman and they go hey I think that's so the way you're doing is fine, is great. Sometimes like the way I do it is this way and it just helps me like this, but I don't mean to, you do it how I do, with a less annoying face, but there's lots of then okay, she can get away with it. But for a lot of us, if we ever dared to have the impulse to notice that someone could be doing something better and then share that with them, well, because we don't really live in proper communities, it's going to be like, oh, who the fuck are you? Why are you saying that to me? Even if, oh, I know who the fuck you are. We've been working together for 5 years, but still, how dare you? Okay, so sorry, that became a thing about my frustration with humans, but me as well. I just try to swallow it when I feel it, but yeah, I spent 3 months with my dad, and those mechanisms that react badly to being told that we're wrong aren't dead in me. Um, didn't. Dad's laughing. He's thinking, "Yeah, you were so argumentative." No, no, no. I don't know about all that. But there was a me kind of going, "Stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it. That's." But then sometimes it was just untrue. But then I didn't know whether when his advice was untrue or when I just didn't want to hear it. So, um, so I thought, how? And here's another thing. Okay, you're just letting me tell it my way. Here's another thing. I noticed that, and I know I must have been doing this a lot in my life. My parents do this thing where I feel like a huge, like an alarming portion of their conversation is statements like, "Why did you do that? And you should have done this." And I told you, blah, 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 and you shouldn't have done that, and blah, blah, blah. Um, so there's a few different things happening in there, but the one thing I wanted to talk about is, I mean, I guess there's like the whole like blame thing, there's the unnecessary sort of investigation, because we're not like reasonable beings. We do like a lot of these things are like very understandable errors, you know, very understandable actions that weren't adequate to someone. Um, boy, I look, that's not my job to explain this stuff simply in 3 to 4 minutes. I come up with the stuff. You can synthesize it you can be the intermediary for the people that can't watch this, okay? So bravo to you. That's awesome. Just hear me out here. Stop expecting me to say this clearly, okay? My job is just to fucking say it. All right. All right. And I'm working on that. All right. So pointing out mistakes and uh, areas for improvement and solutions would be a good thing. Would just be a completely 100% good thing if we were like robots, where we if we had it in our programming to be able to integrate every correction into our system, that everything that we hear, we're able to change our mechanisms accordingly, or our mechanisms change accordingly. That's not how the brain works, and that would also be quite dangerous. And that's obviously, the brain shouldn't be that sensitive to changing it every time. Boom. Oh, okay. From now on, this is how we're going to behave. Um, it's okay that it takes practice for these things, and that's my point. Is that because our brains aren't actually, and that's the thing. I see my parents making the same comments over the course of decades, right? Or the same comments, and it's like, wait a minute, why don't we see that like neither of you has like learned? You're just gonna keep saying that to each other, right? So either figure out a correction, and a correction being a system by which the other learns this thing, or just bite your tongue and adapt to it. Um, I mean, and that's a partner process. The other person can, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So how can I learn this? How can I practice it? Okay. So I'm just terribly disappointed in this video. Um, I'm not, but you're just still here, and that's great. And I know I keep talking about that. Okay, sorry. All right, you're right. Just because we're humans, it just doesn't do any good to just always be correcting. In the how just always be saying, oh, here's how this would be better. Um, we just can't learn. We just don't learn that way. Now, if we had a healthier attitude toward learning, we could make more progress than we currently do, though. we could take advantage of other people and of our own noticing of better stuff. We could take advantage of that, but because we have such an unhealthy relationship to learning, we don't want to really hear those things ever. And when we do hear them, it doesn't trigger the learning processes as much as, or along with, or it does along with the sort of these defense processes. It's not my job to say. So, okay, okay, all right, all right. It is not actually very complicated. Okay. I was thinking about that and my own experiences when people said, oh, pointed out sort of an error, said, oh, this is why this happened, blah, blah. And I explained that in my other bloody video. And and I was like, we need to change our language so that we can sort of, we gotta find a brain hack so that we need to revocalate these statements, these things that we want to express, such that, and revocalate means to change the language such that it doesn't trigger voices that you don't actually want to trigger anyway, right? Um, so so we need to revocalate it, avoid words like error because we know those are going to trigger sort of defense mechanism because there's just these stupid voices in the brain, these mechanisms in the brain that think that like we're supposed to perfectly respond to reality, and that any sort of distance between us and perfection or perfect response to reality or perfect rationality or knowledge or goodness or whatever is like a problem. Um, the anchor should not be perfect. That's not even, it's not even possible. It's only by arrogance and illusion that we ever think that we achieve it anyway, except for in certain time things like spelling and other constructs. But when it actually comes to reality, okay, you can't build the perfect house, the perfect shelter. You can't have the perfect garden. You can't. Okay. It's theoretically it could be possible, yeah, but I mean, I can't imagine how if you haven't already experienced the thing. But if you already experienced the thing, I mean, you can always keep fine tuning it, but just practically speaking, the human brain probably wouldn't be able. We don't even understand the world well enough to understand how to create the perfect garden. What are you talking about? Why are you even disagreeing with this? Okay, so theoretic, I mean, it's possible, but it's not possible for a human brain to have the perfect anything. All right, so um, okay, so here's now we get to the important bit. Okay, so I'm preparing for my class yesterday. And how am I editing these together? Because I've already either so maybe we should be cut now to the 5-minute video that I made while I was preparing for class. No, we'll do that in a second. So so that we have an example, if my student said a sentence in English that was not what a native speaker would say or recognize as consistent with their native rules, then that would be something. We're not going to put error, but that's what, that would be something. And then the version that is more consistent with the grammar rules, that would be something else. That would be a separate line, and the sentence would have a slight difference relative to the error, right? So I guess with my language, I would have been thinking with my human English language, I would have been thinking. like error and then correction. Well, normally what I just do is I put, so he's the one who said this, right? So it's his initials and then this. And it's a conversation, so there's a transcript. I'm doing a transcript of the conversation. So EC said this, then my student said this, and then underneath that, I would put correction, maybe blah blah, or well, I would just put a dash actually often, and then to introduce the new thing and maybe cross out something in the error line. So the lines aren't actually named, wouldn't actually weren't, but there I am. Instead of I didn't want to just put a bullet or a dash and to introduce a line for the correction because I was doing an example. It's a template, and so I wanted it to be clear what the second line was, what this line underneath the quote unquote error was. So I came up with improvement. Oh, already. All right. So let's. All right. You can see that in later in the. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm really struggling, huh? So so I came up with AM for those are the first two letters of amelioration. Which I think is also, which I think we borrowed from French, is a word in English, I think. But anyway, it's amélioration in French, improvement. It means improvement. Okay. Um, so it's like, and then, so we have this AM thing, and then I was talking to the student, and we were talking about the original sentence, and I was referring to as the original sentence, and what can I call it? What's the opposite of the or what? So the AM it follows the what? Okay. So I was thinking like the first something. Well, first in French is premier. So that's PM. I don't know what the M is yet, but all right. So you've got your PM, and then somebody's like, "Yo, I got something better for you. Here's a little AM." So if you say never ever, because it was a setup, we were playing never ever have I ever. If you say never ever have I ever go to Portugal, then I go, hey yo, I got a little way we can take that up a notch. We can kick that. We can we can make that even shinier. We can it's not to take it from the negative into to it's not from to take it from the negative to zero. It's already positive. You've just done a sentence and I understood it. So let me just I want to just take it even a little bit higher. And actually, one of the great thing about grammar is that often you can kind of be 100% if you want to be. So um, so let me just take it up a little bit, and that's really the goal. Okay, that's really the goal. Is that we don't want to think of the default of the normal as accurate as 100% as perfect, and then think of error as deviations, negative deviations from perfect. So if you imagine a number line, we don't want to imagine perfect as like zero. Oh yeah, I did a good job. Of course I did. I'm not a fucking idiot. Like yeah, of course I know how to do that. Blah blah blah. So it's to, and then oh my gosh, I fucked up. Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Oh my gosh, I did this wrong. And oh my gosh, oh my gosh. All right, so we don't want to think of zero as like perfect. When everything's running normally, when we're being reasonable, when we're thinking clearly, we're doing everything right. And so that's just the normal state. Uh, and then sometimes we may do something exceptionally good when we're the best and all that. Otherwise, we're back there at perfect zero. And then a lot of the times, I don't know, I just had a brain fart and then I dipped into the negatives. Like, oh no, I'm terrible. Okay. We don't want to think of it that way. That is how I think we think of it. That's where it feels most natural to me. How we want to think of it is we want to put our anchor, our default, at, let's say, let's redefine zero not as zero error, but as zero contribution. And then let's define 100 as 100% perfect contribution, met all of the requirements as blah blah. and there's just like no room for something to go wrong. It was perfect. We're gonna put that on its side and mention that as an infinity symbol, and that's not even possible. And then what we want to do is put our anchor at, I don't know, it really depends on what the thing is. If it's a philosophical, if it's a conversation about the nature of morality, then let's put our anchor at like 5, bro. On the scale of 0 to the unobtainable 100. And basically the whole conversation is just like, yo, here's what I got. Here's my first thing. Can anybody help me get to like 10 on this issue? Can anybody help me get to like, can I'm gonna try to get to like 15 on this thing. So like, I'm gonna be picking up anything that's better than what I'm saying, or anything that, where I can change what I'm saying a little bit to, you know. If it's making a meal for yourself, I don't know, put yourself at 50. And then there's a great deal. Hey, by the way, hey, tonight, normally I do, normally 50 is, and I'm good with 50. 50 is good. 50 is really good. It's a lot higher than 0. So 50 is pretty awesome. Um, um, but I'm gonna knock it up to what I would estimate at a 60 by spending some time on cutting out some raw vegetables and blah blah blah. I'm gonna put in a whole lot of extra effort. I'm gonna get myself up to like a 75 of the perfect meal. And then people around you should laugh at that. Like, how many hours are you gonna spend on this? Like, and you go, yeah, yeah, no, I'm gonna. Oh yeah. All right, maybe food's not an example, because if you just eat some like raw vegetables, isn't that like a good meal? I don't know anything about nutrition. All right, so for me, I'm gonna put myself at about a 10, right? I get a 10's good. It's, I make some contribution to my hunger, to my health, maybe some negative contribution, but I'm still alive. So um uh and then I would need a partner, a healthy partner, to get my average anywhere close to 50. So and that feels great. Look at that. I mean, yeah, okay, it's 10. It's that, don't say 10%. Stop it. It's not 10%. If I ever use the word percent, that's my bad. It's not like that. The anchor is just something above 0. The impossibility is 100, okay? All right, can you go negative? Yeah, sure you can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be honest with you. Those Cheetos I ate for dinner at 11 p.m. in bed last night, that was below 0. That was definitely below 0. Um, that was definitely below 0. So I'm averaging at 10 because I do make stuff that's probably like 40. But anyway, so balance out those Cheetos with some little cookies, some chocolate cookies. So anyway, um, okay. So my PM, 11 p.m. My PM is we have a bag of Cheetos. Okay, and AM could be, yeah, actually, let me close this bag of Cheetos. Um, let me, I was thinking smoke a cigarette to try to cut my appetite, but that's that by itself calls for another AM. So anyway, all right, uh, so then the PM, here's what it means. I don't know what it means, but it can mean like prior mechanism. Prior can mean just like using the mechanisms that existed prior to the demand, right? It can mean because I guess anytime you're talking about it as a PM, it's because there's an AM. Otherwise, I mean, right? So, It was the Great War until World War II came along, right? So, all right, that could be confusing. All right. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that you got your PM. You say a thing. You say a thing. Gosh. Uh, I don't. Nothing is coming to mind for a thing I could say that can become a PM. I mean, nothing's coming to mind. Period. So, um, okay. Sapolsky wrote the book *Sapiens*. Okay, there's a statement, and then you could be like, oh, hey, that's cool. You said that thing. You were looking for something to say, and you said a thing. Sapolsky he's a neuroscientist. He's an author. He talks about human beings. *Sapiens* is a book. So that's let me we're gonna take a second step with this. Let's engage some other. I'm gonna bring in some other information for you. Yuval Noah Harari wrote *Sapiens*. Ah, cool. Okay, cool. Um, uh, Let me take that step with you, bro. Thanks for letting me know. So now I've just said an even truer thing. Yeah, the previous thing, yeah, it wasn't true. Um, Not everything that I say is true. It would be only by arrogance or illusion that I would think that everything that I say is true. Um, uh, yeah, there you go. Got a little AM there. Um, Now, so the AM is the proposed improved statement, right? The proposed statement that takes us farther away from no contribution. Is that a cool way to do it? To make sure we keep our anchor at zero or in the negatives. But zero is in like zero contribution, not zero error. Or if you want to do like zero error, right? If you want to use that scale, and we typically think of ourselves as that's our default state, zero error, and then we feel shame when we dip into the negatives. Oh, oh, fuck, that doesn't work. Then it's negative errors. Hold on. Right, the number line isn't like the quantity of, but I'm saying zero errors. All right. Okay, so just when we say bad things, that those are negative good things, right? Okay, so when we say untrue or things that deviate from zero error. All right, just let's just go with me that if you deviate from zero error and you do three errors, you're at -3 and not +3. Okay? All right. So zero is zero error, and then +3 is like uh three unexpected and things that trigger surprise and feeling impressed. Okay? All right. Anyway, so so imagine we're using that scale, that line, all right? Because let's just do that for a second. I'm against it, but for this, I'm okay with it. In that case, we want to slide ourselves down. I mean, the scale doesn't even make any sense, but we want to slide ourselves down deep on the left, I don't know which way I'm pointing right now, but on the deep on left, x-axis. Um, as in like, oh, like we're systematically and regularly making lots of errors. Um, And if we want to get, and zero is an impossible state. It's like, you can work really hard and you're just gonna like asymptotically approach it. Not actually, don't actually imagine an asymptote here because we're really just working on the one dimension. Um, so you get, so yeah. So, I did such a good job. I was probably, I mean, only God could know how many errors I made, because obviously, if I knew which errors I made, I would have done the AMs on them. But I'm thinking, I bet God would say I was at like -5 on that, bro. What? Shit, I felt good about my performance. I would have estimated I was at like -10. I don't know what those errors would have been. Of course, I just had to have a feeling that they were probably about like maybe 10 things I did wrong. But you feel like looked at so many of the Ds, you were like, there's not even room for more than 5 errors. Holy shit, bro. How arrogant, or what an illusion. I know, no, I know. It's only by arrogance or illusion I could think I was higher than -10, right? So, or I mean, closer to zero than -10. Yeah, yeah, you're right. But honestly, I'd put you at -15 then. Okay, right, yeah, yeah, yeah. But we did a good job. -15 and -10. Damn, we did a good job. That was cool. That was, yes, wow, great. Because the average, I would, God would probably estimate about minus 298. So, because a lot of people just didn't spend as much, didn't spend the hundreds of hours that we spent on this to try to just check everything and blah blah. So, okay, so there you go. Your PM, that can stand for your priori mechanism. So like mechanisms you had prior to the thing. So you're like your a priori. It can be like your prior mechanisms. It can be your premier mécanisme. I like also first step. And that's, by the way, an image I've had in my head this whole time, and so I should have shared with you earlier. I like your premier marche. That's the first step. There doesn't usually often. I mean, if you wanted to do it perfectly, yes, there would need to be some more steps. But usually, what the default is we do one step and it's good enough. You know, it's at about a 15 from zero contribution to what we need, and typically to stay alive and reproduce, we only need to hit a 10. So. And now we're using the scale that I prefer, which is zero contribution, and then you just try to. Oh right, but for your scale, so if you're saying I want to try to, you know, from negative, I'm just trying to stay away from the real deep negatives. So, -5,000 is not good. That's way too many sort of differences between what I produced and what perfectly responds to the thing. 5,000, that seems like a lot. Um, so I'm just trying to stay up or away from that darkness, knowing that I'm never going to be above the surface, never going to be at the surface. But it's just cool where I can see a bit of light. So now we're imagining, okay, we turned it, right, and it's like a diver or like a fish or something. No, not like a diver, because then their default is above water. It's like a fish. And a fish that's like, oh, that's too much pressure down there. I didn't evolve for all that. I'm gonna stay up here, try to stay up here on the surface, but there's some repelling force because it's not really possible to go all the way to the surface. It's just not built to live on the surface, that's for sure. The fish. So, all right, you can use either scale. And anyway, you know what? I'm not talking to the public right now. I'm talking to the person who's going to explain this stuff. So you should have been taking notes. You should have been rewinding or skipping. You should have been, you should have called me. So, all right. Um, All right, and so yeah, you do your PM, your first marche, and then you can use advance for A, just like in French, avancer to move forward, to advance, kind of. I don't want to look at it, I think of it as advanced, like super high level or whatever, but just, yeah, so just imagine that typically there's a demand from reality. You take a step forward with the legs that you have, with the sense that you have. You go, boom, and you did what you had to do. And sometimes people might be like, "Oh, hey, look at that. That actually will get you even closer." And you go, "Oh, yeah, sure will." There you go. Sometimes though, you go, "That will get you even closer," and you're like, "Ah, yeah, but I mean, I'm not, I don't, I can't, I don't, I got other shit. I don't actually, I got, I'm close enough. I can see it. That's okay here. I can see. I can, not actually. That doesn't work in the metaphor, but I'm close enough where I'm enough out of the lava. I'm sorry about the mixed metaphors. I'm enough out of the lava. Um, because we have lots of different things, right? We have all these different things. So you're not gonna just infinitely try to infinitely. You don't have time. You don't have the leg energy. You can't just be infinitely taking steps on every single question, every single demand. Right? So that's why it's not super useful for someone to always go, oh, here you miss a spot, here you miss a spot, here you miss a spot. And remember that the default is missing spots. You don't, you never, there's always spots. Okay. Um, there's always, it's like cleaning, fucking no, I don't want to come up with another metaphor. I'm so tired right now, actually. It just hit me. Um, yeah, just imagine something that it can't be like made to look brand new and perfect. Um, it's just making it, I don't know, even you're just making it nicer. I don't fucking know. I just really tired. So, ah, imagine a lawn, okay? Oh, I love where we are, right, by the way. Imagine a lawn, and and you mow the lawn, and it's pretty much all flat, and then somebody comes over with a little ruler and goes, "Oh, this blade isn't the same height as that blade," uh, or "Oh, because there's one of these in the ground." Well, you can see the grass goes like that, and we want it to be flat, even if the ground isn't flat. It's like, oh no, that won't be the case. There will always I will not perfectly flatten this grass. I mean, I guess I could if I spent my whole life on it, maybe. And it would stay like that for like a day. But no, 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 that's not the goal. Oh, that's just stupid. So it's like if in every aspect of your life you've got a lawn, and every time you keep teleporting with your buddy to different lawns you have, so AKA they're seeing you respond to different demands of reality. And every time they go, oh, hey, here's a weed here. Oh, hey, here's a thing here. And you've got all this land. Yeah, 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 yeah. Or it doesn't have to be mowing. It can just be any imperfection of all this land. Where it's just not. It's like I don't even have my mower right now. I don't have my weed whacker right now. I don't like. We don't. What's gonna happen here? It's not just like physically possible for me to deal with that. So, talk to your friend, because your friend is just trying to help and just sharing, and it isn't expecting you to fix it necessarily. Just like, oh, hey, there's a weed there. He may not be expecting you to fix it. So if it bothers you, first of all, don't let it bother you. It's just like he's just offering an AM. Um, but if it's like incessant and you feel like he's expecting you to always do something, to always take another step every time, and to always remember that AM, then yeah, you go yo 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 yo. I never do things perfectly. That's not biologically impossible. That's not biologically possible. But so I just like do things. Um, Now, if I consistently and my PM keeps being not good enough, I consistently we're gonna have to think of a correction, a process by which I learn to produce whatever AM we agree on, or maybe this AM that you keep suggesting every time I produce the PM. But I don't think it's a big deal actually that I keep sort of forgetting to check this, you know. Let's say, or whatever, okay? Or that I keep making this mistake or I keep using this word that way or whatever. But if it is a big deal, and let's say that we agree that it is a big deal, which you discuss, I guess, then okay, we need to figure out a correction. The correction is not this is what you should be doing. A correction is getting me to be doing that. So, okay, I like that AM. And it's true that every time I take that same first step and that is inadequate, I agree. So you're proposing an AM for me, an amélioration. Okay, I do want to integrate that into me. That is something I want to spend my time and energy on. Because that is something that matters to us, and I can afford to invest in that. All right, let's figure out a correction. Um, uh, um, let's figure out a process by which my response to the demand isn't the mechanism that existed before the previous instance of the demand, but if I take some of these mechanisms that you're giving me, or I learn some of them, I install some of them with practice and conversation. Then the next time that demand hits, the mechanisms that will be there before, the mechanisms that I'm installing now are going to exist before that demand hits. When that demand hits, it's gonna trigger those mechanisms, and I'm gonna produce a first step, and that first step isn't gonna be like my other PMs because look, I'm learning the new mechanisms now. And then, and then if I'm really far away from getting it, then let's do this one step at a time, right? First, you see a PM that isn't, and you want to suggest an AM, and I agree, I want to get a step closer. I want to take that AM. Learn that AM. Demand hits. What was proposed as that AM is what activates as my first step. I got another step to take. I got more to learn. All right. Let's figure out a correction, a way for me to, when I hear that demand, produce this second AM that you've come up with and that I agree that I really like and that does get me closer and that, in an important way. So cool. Yeah. Honestly, I think you agree that it was worth it. And do not mix these things because then you're just gonna really fuck it up by adding all the connotations from the bad language, all that stuff over to this. So don't. If you try this with your partner and your partner said, that's a PM, go, why the fuck did you go, that's a PM? Everything that I do is a PM. Everything that I do is a step towards, whatever, or a response to my thing. It is obviously just by the very nature of it being an action as a response to that demand, it is a PM. Of course it's a PM. Everything I do is a PM. What do you mean? Oh, that's a PM. PM is not a code word for error. Now, if by that's a PM you mean that an AM has occurred to you, then let's hear it. Let's be healthy about it. Let's not accuse me of having done a PM. Everything is every first step is a PM. That's what it means. Premier marche, prior mechanisms. What are you talking about? Ugh. I know people are going to do that. It's making me upset. So get upset at them for me. So okay. So sorry. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so how about you say that to me in a healthier way? Like, hey, I was thinking about your PM there, and I think I've got an AM for it. Say that to me. What's that? Oh yeah? Huh. And you don't feel like my PM was adequate in this one? Why not? Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have any ideas for for a correction? For how I could um make that what you're suggesting, that AM you're suggesting, make that my PM? Okay. All right, I'll think about it. Okay. And then you do the arrow again because you guys haven't figured out a correction. And if your partner says, you did that PM again, leave him. Leave her, leave him. Okay? Ooh. So let's say you do the same PM that you've done before, and the partner goes, "Oh, hey, by the way, uh, I came up with an idea for how we could make this AM, and you still think that AM I suggested would be good? Okay, so yeah, so I've got a way that blah blah, and then we have to understand that's going to take time and multiple encounters with the same situation to for that AM to become automatic. And we have to not get upset. We've talked about this. Why do you keep making the same mistake? We talked about this. Do you not? Oh, no. Don't do that. And then also, oh gosh, I know we talked about it. Oh fuck, I keep doing that. I keep doing this. I'm sorry. Or all right, just leave me alone. Stop it. I'm never good enough. Nothing I ever do is good enough. Oh, blah blah blah. You just keep saying I make the same mistake. Yeah, you do. We all do. So let's be cool. Let's be cool. Yeah, I sometimes. All right, I'm just gonna leave you with this. There's this card game that I play, and when you put down a card, you have to pick up as many, or when you put however many cards you play, you have to pick up as many cards as you play. And it's a pretty quick game. So we're going around. A player puts down a card, picks up a card. Next player plays on top of their card, picks up a card. Next player, blah blah. We're just going around and around. You just have to play higher, basically. And so the pickup pile is right next to the throwaway pile. So of course, what happens is when I teach the game, people are focused on all the rules and all this stuff. And so they throw down a card, then they pull their hand back to their hand, and they look around. I gotta stop. And then let's say so then the next player plays a card and is about to pick up a card maybe. I gotta put my hand down on the pile, oh, you gotta pick up a card. You know. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I just go card, 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 pick up a card, card. Yep. As soon as you pick up a card, you know. And that's fine. And I promise you they'd be learning it faster if they weren't every time going, oh, I just, that's the one thing I keep forgetting to do. You know how many times I fucking heard that? Yes, everybody forgets to do that. That's okay. That's okay. I've just got a second step to offer you. Your first step is fine. You played a card. The game will move on once you've picked up a card. Once you do that AM, that's it. That's it. No worries. And the correction is this my reminder. And the more that you just let me remind you and you do it, rather than fucking talking about it every time and about how, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, I don't know where Matt's at. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I just keep forgetting to pick up a card. The less you talk about that, the quicker that it'll become automatic for you to pick up a card. Because just let your mechanisms learn that rather than be talking to me about how embarrassed you are that you are not perfectly doing this. Oh gosh, I hate. All right. Everything that you do is a first imperfect step. Sometimes it's cool to integrate ways to get closer to whatever you're trying to accomplish, or farther away from accomplishing it really, really shittily. Okay? So, everything you do is a PM. Sometimes someone might suggest an AM. Think about whether it's good, talk to them and stuff. Then, if you like the AM, if you like the amelioration, if you like the edit, not the edit, if you like the AM, right? We're only going to talk about AM and PM. We're not going to talk about other human words because we have bad relationships to them, okay? Then you can be like, oh, okay, yo, let me make that AM my PM by some correction. Okay, correction being the process by which the brain integrates, learns the new thing, because just hearing it, just knowing it is not enough. Okay, so, and if you're the person calling someone out for an inadequate PM, don't be frustrated, and know that you can't just like tell them and then the brain just magically all the neurons move around immediately. And no, that needs lots of time and practice for the connections to slowly shift and for the first mechanisms that run in response to the thing to be different. And you don't need to point out every time you see a possible AM, right? What do you? They're life consultant. They're they're fucking everything consultant, you know. So concentrate your energies on things that where and AMs that are important and that can actually you and the person um who you're proposing these AMs to can actually they have the time and energy to actually learn them and make them into their PMs. Brilliant. All right. So anything else? Okay. So we say instead of correction, we use AM, amélioration, um, especially for a situation where the job was done. Um, and I don't even know about that, especially now. All right. Then a PM is like a premier marche, or maybe a priori mechanism. So that's the delivery of a mala, which I think I need because it sounds so bad, a mala, but it's just a mechanism that wasn't adapted to this situation. I mean, none are adapted, but some give better results than others, and a mala is one that's poorly adapted, anyway, or adaptive, adaptive, I mean. And then the delivery that raised uh, what humans would have called whatever. Okay. Uh, or less or less. Oh, yeah. Instead of mala, so like bad adaptive or unadaptive, less adaptive. There you go. So or moins. So that's French for minus a. So instead of bad a, which is mal a, which is just short for maladaptive, it's minus adaptive. So minus a. Okay. So moins a. Okay. And that's important. All right. And then we've got correction, which is the process of revoicing for better delivery. And then and this is okay to put in human language because we don't have bad relationships to these words. They're retraining so as not to produce the inadequate response or less inadequate response. All right, there you go. Boom.